Welcome to Savvy Business, Life Unscripted, with your host, Christina Rivera, where our guests share their wisdom and valuable business tips, empowering our audience to expand their personal potential.
Hi, Dr. Liia Ramachandra. Welcome to Savvy Broadcasting and Life Unscripted. I'm so grateful to have you here today. How are you?
I am good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you betcha. I spoke just briefly before we hit the go button, and you're going to talk about 5 tips for anyone out there starting a product-based business, because that's what you do. But I was really intrigued by your story because you had an issue, and a lot of the people who have come on our show who are business owners started their business because they had issues they were trying to resolve for themselves. They created whatever they needed for themselves, and it actually was a big help to the marketplace. And you've done the same, creating your pharmaceuticals. So I'd like for you to share with our audience what even brought you or prompted you to create your own business.
Thank you. Yes. So since I was a little girl, I had psoriasis, and after my third child was born, I was diagnosed with non-celiac gluten sensitivity. And I changed my life in terms of lifestyle and what I ate, and that was great. And yet still every time I was applying serums, creams, makeup on my face, I used to have this redness, breakouts, dry skin, and I used really, really high quality and very expensive skincare that I've used actually for many years. And at a certain point, I just couldn't use it anymore. So my background, I'm a pharmacist. So I'm a PharmD, worked in oncology space mainly, and I also have a PhD in analytical chemistry. So I learned how to compound skincare and of course medicines, which you can translate to skincare. So I said, you know what, in my kitchen, let me just make something for myself that I think will help my skin to glow and feel good and look good without being irritated. So when I made that, I started using that and it worked. People were asking me, your skin is glowing, what are you using? So I'm like, oh, let me give it to you. And then more and more people start asking me for the product. So at that point, I was still working for a pharmaceutical company. As you know, that was my previous life. So I went to my husband and I said, hey, you know what? I think we have something here. I always wanted to start my own business. I'm extremely passionate about this. I feel we can be mission driven and we can help a lot of people. Let me do this. So that's how EpiLinks, our company, was born.
Wow. And, I love this story because quite a few of my friends, including myself, have had an autoimmune issue. For me, it was my thyroid. A number of my friends have had gluten sensitivity or celiac, which is, you're just totally allergic to gluten. But, I never thought about the products you put on your skin, how that could affect you, because the skin is an organ and it absorbs all the chemicals you put into it. And you don't think that, hey, if I'm putting something into my skin and I'm allergic to these things, it's going to harm me if I apply it to my skin as well.
Correct. And you are so right. Skin is our largest organ in the body, and we don't think about it that way. And if you have autoimmune conditions, so you have inflammation from inside, or you have any allergy to nuts or dairy or any of those, big 14 known allergens, everything you eat and put inside, your skin will react the same, because it's a part of your whole holistic well-being and your whole immune system, right? So I always say everything you put inside and you eat, put on your outside, and don't put gluten on the outside if you don't eat gluten.
Exactly. So I'm sure it wasn't easy getting your business up and going, even though you had products that people were like, hey, can you give me some? And you're sharing it with people. I mean, that I've heard that story over and over again with products. I have a tomato sauce or a pie that everyone wants. But how did you go from beginning stage to planning, talking to your husband, to getting it started and rolling? Was it a difficult process? How did it look like?
It was, I always say, thank God I didn't know what I know now. Otherwise, I would have never started it. Because, I thought about starting consultancy business, and and that's very hard also to get off the ground. But product business is completely different, is a completely different beast, right? So I literally started, because of my background, first doing a lot of research on what's out there, what works, what doesn't work, what ingredients work, then buying equipment and literally starting in a smaller room in my basement. I used to be in Chicago at that point, then moving to a bigger room, then moving to a facility, then moving to a bigger facility. And now we have a large facility here in Chatsworth in LA. And that's all progression within 3 years. We grew quickly, but yes, it's a lot of sleepless nights. And the product business, from making and packaging and ingredients to legalities of it, is of course a very different beast.
And so what do you think is the biggest myth about getting a product-based business off the ground that you've come across? Because a great idea, or like you said, oh, I have this tomato sauce and people love it, it will be success. That's literally 0.01% of your success. Having a great product is a great foundation, and you need to have a great product, but everything else, from awareness and education and sourcing of ingredients, of jars, of labels, regulatory aspect of it, right? Food and Drug Administration, where do you market? Where do you sell? It's not something that you just approach people and talk to. You really need to deliver that product, and it needs to be the same quality, and it needs to be also complying with everything around it where you are in the world. Wow. So say someone is listening in, they say, I have this product I'm sitting on, whatever it might be. I want to, do just as Liia did and get it out there. What should be the first several steps in getting started? So I always say, I feel that being, especially in the product business, but I think also in any business, you need to be so passionate about it, and not just passionate like, oh, I love it, I'm going to do it. It's really like you live or die. Like, if I don't do it, I will die. I mean, not in those, but really, because there will be so many sleepless nights, or so many times that you'll say, why did I start this? So you truly need to believe in your mission. And our mission was helping people with allergies, with autoimmune conditions, and truly like reminding yourself that you are that mission driven, that's the most important thing for me, is I think one of the most important things, because there will be always obstacles on the way, whether it's physical obstacles or not. But as long as you keep that mission and that passion, that tenacity, that you can't live without it, which I know it sounds a bit extreme, but I think it has to be. Yeah, it has to be. Otherwise, your business will die or will not succeed, or you will lose a lot of money. Well, here's something I don't think people realize when they go into entrepreneurship or starting a business, is they're like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to launch this. I'm going to make a bunch of sales. And I'm going to be like instantly successful, without realizing most of the most successful business owners or products or services or whatever took years to get to the pinnacle of what you see. And so you just see the end result and you think, oh, yeah, it was a piece of cake. It was maybe 20 years of work behind it. And are you willing to put that effort forth to see that end result? And that's what I think, what I'm getting from you also, how important it is to have that clear, focused vision of what you want. Yes. Like you had the mission. Yes. Yes. Because you always have to have some foundation like if you start a business purely to make money, like I have a great, I'm going to your tomato sauce. I have this great, I'm going to make lots of money. You will like, it will, I can almost guarantee it will never work. You really have to start with the foundation of a mission of what's important to me and why am I doing this? Because I would say there will be 100 times a day that you'll regret you ever started it. And maybe 1,000 times a day that you will be so happy, but those 100 times a day, you need to go back and say, why am I doing this? That's why I'm doing this. And yes, you're absolutely right. That clear focus and tenacity and passion about what you are doing is extremely important. Why you're doing it. Yeah. Now we got the vision on the table. We know what our product is. The quality rocks. Now, the biggest thing I hear from people, well, where do I get the finances? Where do you begin with that? What's your suggestion on getting financing or going forth and getting that? Because that's the biggest thing I hear from people is the money is the issue.
Yeah, the money is, I think, always the issue, but also not, because I feel people say, if I had a lot of money, I would do this. But you also hear people have a lot of money and they spend tens of thousands of dollars just thrown down the drain for some stupid marketing campaign that
Exactly.
that they, that will not work. I feel think about it, right? So I was more fortunate because it didn't happen overnight, right? It didn't I made the cream, I waited 2-3 years. I saved. I was in a position to be able to save some capital, because starting a product, again, you need a quite significant capital to buy, in my case, ingredients, jars, machinery, laboratory space, right? So I say, if you can bootstrap as much as you can, as long as you can. And otherwise, people also fundraise, from family and friends. I couldn't do it. I didn't feel it was appropriate for me. I wanted to do it myself, again, in a more fortunate situation. But I always think you don't need necessarily business plan, but be aware of the costs, and then multiply it by 5, because costs are always, right? It's always
Way more than you expect.
way
Absolutely.
more than you expect, and say, okay, and that comes also to one of the other things. Many people say, oh, I have this great idea and I'm going to start this, but maybe that idea is already out there, or maybe no one needs your product or idea or service you want to provide. And I think in 99.9% of the cases, it's already out there and no one needs it. So,
or if they need it, there might be an overabundance of other people doing it. What are you going to do to stand out?
Exactly. So when I made those creams and we started, I did a lot of research to say, is this really something that people will need? I did a lot of market. I went to 100 people I knew, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I said, would you guys, and you need to pose that question differently, because if you say, would you want it? They say yes.
Would you pay for it? Not really.
Yeah,
Are you giving it to me?
not really. Yeah. Exactly. But you need to talk about more, not your product, but what is their struggle in their skincare? What do they miss? So you think, okay, there is a market for it, and you can still be wrong. In our case, I think with the clean beauty on the rise, environments and climate change, I think this fitted very well in the niche.
Yeah.
And that's extremely important, even maybe more important than having a passion for it. Make sure that it is needed.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because one thing now, a lot of people in the 40s, 50s are telling me, oh, I've got these autoimmune issues. So when you came across and said, hey, I could do something that helps me, you were spot on that in the moment out there really is a lot of people dealing with the same sort of issues you are, and they could actually benefit from a product that totally doesn't have all of those ingredients that will harm you. Yeah, so that's a great way to start. And also, one thing I got from what you just said is being clear on the money. Because many years ago, someone said to me, what kind of life do you want at the end of the day when your business is successful? What do you want it to look like?
Yes.
So when you have, and then the second part of that is that what would it cost for that vision to come into existence, and actually write every piece down, from having your staff, if you had a staff, how much would it cost, to machinery, as you said. So, I mean, doing that is a really good exercise, because I think that's probably one of the biggest fails that people run into running out of capital, is even if they do save, even if they do borrow from family, they run out quickly because they haven't calculated all the cost that is needed to get that business going, for maybe not making enough money for 6 months, a year, or more.
Yeah. And I think to add to that, you're so right. Even people say, oh, I'll just get an investor. And we have been approached by several investors, and we talked for months and decided that's not for us, because they don't either share our vision, or it will take the company in a slightly different, or maybe bigger, very different direction from what we were anticipating, or why we did this. So saying, oh, I'll just raise money or get investors is not is not necessarily the best thing to do as well.
Yeah.
Maybe if you truly believe in it, maybe borrow money or get it from the bank, because investors will always be breathing down your neck and at a certain point buy you out, or when you grow, or tell you to like
Change
up your
vision.
prices.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when one of us saying, I want your prices to go 3 times up, I'm like, I'm not doing this. I want this high quality skincare be affordable for everyone. You need to stick to your guts.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that you say that, because they will be breathing through your neck, because you know what? They partly own your company when they invest in it. There's a reason they're investing. It's not free money.
Of course. Yeah, nothing
they,
is free.
and they want a return on investment. The whole point of them putting money down is they could see a vision that you're seeing, that this is going to make money for them. And if it turns out it doesn't start making money, well, then you're going to be in deep doo-doo. And the same goes for the bank. They will also start breathing down your neck if money doesn't start coming back from what they invested or gave to you. And so you really have to have that plan ahead of time. Okay, this is going to cost this much. How much do we have saved so we can keep paying back the loan from the bank or whatever? Because in no time, that is one of the biggest things I hear from business owners, that in less than 5 years, they've gone bankrupt.
Yes. And that's why I always say, like, and I did until now, which we're now growing rapidly. So I need to reprioritize my time. I did consulting on the side. I consulted with my medical background. I didn't quit my job for a year, even when I already had that in work. I did tell them I'm starting this LLC. I'm thinking about it. I'm not selling anything, so there is no conflict of interest. But I always say, do not quit your job until you have your first sales, right? Do not, or consult, get money somehow because, it's easy to say, I'm going to borrow, I'm going to get investors. And like you said, I think most businesses fail within the first 5 years.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Yeah. And it seems like, oh yeah, this is awesome. I know it's going to sell, but there's nothing wrong with really kicking your butt and just putting it in and doing the day job and doing the other side hustle until it actually takes off. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's been many successful businesses who started that way. We're doing the side hustle, then eventually it turned into a full-time business. But we could go on forever because you have so much wonderful advice. It wasn't just 5. It was a huge amount of value you gave our audience. But where can people find out more about EpiLinks?
Yes.
Yes, I said it right.
Yeah.
Where can they find out more and more about you? How can they do that?
Yeah, so it's of course on our website. It's www.epilinks.com. It's EPILYNX. We have a big store on Amazon. Almost all our products are there. And I feel that's another thing for the product business. You have to be on Amazon. And I know it's a double-edged sword. People say, oh, I hate all this. But Amazon is here to stay. And if you ever want honest reviews, or people really say, okay, what is it really? Or if you ever want to sell a business, Amazon is the way to go because you get all the information there. That's awesome. We have a big store there. And then we are also on a couple of other beauty websites, and we have some collaborations with apps, and we also have our own EpiLinks app as well. So yes,
you can get your products on the go.
So people can with one click. It's all about easy and quick, and yes.
Another good tip, guys, make it easy and quick for people to part with their money and buy your product, always. So everyone, please go to EpiLinks, which is EPILYNX.com. It'll be right there beneath us. I'm going to put a lower third so everyone can see it throughout our interview. But I thank you again, Liia, for coming to share your great wisdom today on Savvy. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You betcha.
That was great.
Like, subscribe, and share this episode. To listen to more Savvy episodes and Savvy Biz Tips, go to www.lifeunscriptedradio.com. To find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest, email Christina at lifeunscriptedradio.com.